Okay, 6:30, we're gonna call this regular monthly meeting to order. No, we gotta wait till the light goes on.
No, he's already recorded.
Is already on?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so let's call this regular monthly meeting of the Scarborough Sanitary District to order. We'll do a roll call. Jason?
Here.
Mike? Here. Tony?
Here.
Ben?
Here.
I'm Nick Rico, chairman. I'm here too. All right, approval of the minutes. I'll entertain the first motion of the evening.
Move approval.
Oh, yes, Joe and Ruth have excused absences this evening. Those are the other two trustees. So Jason has a motion on the floor
Second.
to approve the minutes. Tony seconded. Any corrections? Barring none, all in favor? None opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda is superintendent's report.
Okay, a copy of the monthly report of operations for the month of January is included in your packet. Before I start this, I just want to back up. Just got some preliminary stuff that we're going to go through pretty quickly, and then we'll get right to the whole Highland Ave thing. A copy of the monthly report of operations for the month of January is included in your packet. Our average effluent flow for the month was 1.41 million gallons per day. Our effluent quality was well within our permitted limits. We averaged 96% BOD removal and 98% TSS removal with concentrations of 10 and 5 milligrams per liter, respectively. Copy of the pump station flows for the month of January is also included in your packet. No issues were noted. As a result of the infamous earthquake of January 27th here in Scarborough, we actually were impacted by it. We lost our radio at the public safety building, which stopped working. This radio acts as our repeater for communications within all of our pump stations. Consequently, we lost communication with each pump station. They continue to operate as they are designed, no issues there. We had a second radio on site, which Whittington Kern was able to utilize and reestablish communications by 3 p.m. that same day. We are currently working with a vendor to replace both radios. The current estimate to replace these radios is $15,000. Knowles Industrial Services has completed painting the floor at pump station number 2, which is on Eastern Trail on Pine Point. During the heavy winds, the light pole out by the sludge dewatering building fell due to the heavy winds we experienced on February 16th. The pole had been showing signs of corrosion and was scheduled to be replaced, I think it was next year. The corrosion was caused by the old odor control system that was blowing out on exhausted air directly onto the pole. The new odor control system doesn't do that anymore, so once the pole is replaced, we won't have that same issue. Knowles Industrial Services completed the painting of the floors in the garage at the wastewater treatment facility. And they are also starting the grit tank concrete repairs. And in preparation of this works, Knowles had to cut in a bypass within the channel of the headworks just right after the step screen, so we could bypass around the grit tank. T-Buck has submitted their updated schedule for the construction of Pump Station 1. The current completion date is October 15th of this year. CMP has provided a schedule for their work, which is a critical prior to starting any on-site work. I did attach T-Buck's schedule. With regards to the dewatering upgrades at the plant, we have had no on-site work to date. We did have a discussion with the engineer about the temporary dewatering system that the contractor will be setting up on site, and they should be starting on-site work this coming month. On February 17th, the annual audit on-site work was completed in just one day. They typically scheduled to, but they're able to complete everything on that Monday. No issues were noted, and the audit to date has gone very smoothly, thanks to the work of Serena and Wendy. A little flashback there.
Yes.
So, and that's, one last thing. We did have DEP did conduct their biannual inspection of the plant this past Monday. And that went very, very well.
All right. Any questions about the correspondence for the superintendent?
Correspondence or?
Barring none, the report. Now it's time for the correspondence.
I did attach Willett and Associates letter to the chairman that said that they send out annually that requires about his quote-unquote understanding of the risk of fraud. I asked the chairman to answer those questions and either return it directly to Willett Associates or give it to me, and I will direct it to them.
In the spirit of no fraud, I wouldn't mind getting a letter from them with their letterhead on it. It doesn't say Willett and Associates anywhere on that piece of paper. So
I will get that
I'd
from you.
appreciate that. Truly.
Sounds like a test to me.
You think I passed?
It could be. And that's it on correspondence.
All right. Any questions about the correspondence? All right. Let's move on. Old business. This is when we talk about your neighborhood. This is about the Highland Ave sewer extension.
Okay, so at the last trustees meeting, I presented the option to extend the pressure sewer from the proposed Trestleway subdivision up Highland Ave up to 38 Highland Ave, thereby providing sewer service to approximately 10 homes. As presented, the cost per lot is approximately $7,050, which is about half the cost if we were able to do this project, if we did this project independently. As requested by the board, I did reach out to the impacted homeowners via the attached letter, inviting them to this meeting, which I'm very happy that you all came. Thank you. We sent it both via certified as well as standard mail. The proposed sewer is shown on the plan labeled Highland Ave Sewer Plan. And I would like to get direction from the board on the following. Should the district proceed with this project? How should the district pay for this project? And what are the homeowner's responsibilities with regard to the cost and payment options? So with that, again, I want to express my pleasure in thanking you all for coming to this meeting, because it certainly does impact all of you. And the other thing I wanted to state is this was something I had, when I saw the Trestleway subdivision come in front of me, and with those two outlier lots that were being serviced by the pressure sewer that was going across their green space of the project, I looked at it as an opportunity of maybe servicing an area that obviously has some dated septic systems. So I asked Risbara to give me some cost estimates to do what we're talking about here. So with that, that's all.
I'm wondering if now is the time to either do a brief description of how it would work, or maybe we open it up to questions.
I can do a brief description of it.
I think that would be helpful.
Okay. So on the plan, I provided, let me find the letter first. So as part of Trestleway subdivision, there's 10 lots that are proposed. Two of the lots are front out on Highland Ave and are, aren't accessed via Trestleway. And as the original plan presented by Risborough, they would be sewered by a pressure sewer that would come from Trestle Way through the green space down along a path, good service to the backside of the houses. What I asked Risborough to do is give me a price to extend the sewer instead up Highland Ave from Trestle Way. And it would go all the way up to 38, which is that new house that's under construction right now.
Right
Oh,
now, Drew Gagnon from
Oh, you got-
Laurel Palmer has taken the initiative and brought a.
Thank you very much on that. I
Copy
thought
of
we were
the
going to
plan.
have a
Thank
plug
you.
in, so I brought my laptop. So the price that that the $7,050 comes from is deducting the length of force main that Risborough would be building anyway along through the green space. So that automatically was taken off, and then the total cost of the force main is from that, I want to say it was like 200 feet, 215 feet, all the way up to 38, and then divided by the 10 lots. So, and that's how we came up with the $7,050. So the thought being, this is an opportunity to get sewer in front of these homes. I believe number 14 is anyone here from number 14 Island? No? They actually have the newest septic system. And then Mr. McDougall on the end, he actually researched it and found that most of the septic systems along Highland Ave, these 10, I believe, are mostly built in the 70s. So they are all, they're fairly aged at this point in time. So.
And septic systems usually are designed for 25 years.
They can, yeah, they're designed for that, but they can go,
Come this way.
they have varied life depending on,
Depends on service.
yeah, service, yeah, it's all over the place.
Two people in that house, the septic system.
So I live in a house that the system was built in 1972, it's fine, so.
Quick question for you, if you don't mind. So
Sure.
If you ask a question though, do you mind going up to the mic, just saying who you are? That way,
And
Well,
so
yeah,
when he gets to this point, where does he go? This way?
You might go into this at some point, but the $7,050,
Yep,
is that just to the street? So then we have to find a subcontractor to actually plumb the house ourselves? Is that
yes,
the plan?
that's just for the, basically, I'm gonna call it a betterment charge, you get the sewer by the house.
Okay.
That's just for the sewer extension.
And there's gonna be requirements on what contractors are allowed to tie into that sewer main, right?
That only licensed
Yeah,
pipe layers would be the requirement
Yeah.
for that.
yeah, I don't, but
I
does
did
anyone
include
around
that in the
table?
letter. So in the letter.
About a $5,000 estimate, I believe, Dave, just to remind you, estimate of about $5,000 to connect.
Yeah, so,
So it's not set.
no, the overall cost to connect, if you included the cost of the force main extension, would be about $20,000. So if you connected today, if we built it, if you connected today, you have the cost to extend the sewer, which is to have the sewer run by your house, which is about $7,000. The cost of the pump station, it being a pressure sewer system, you need a individual pump station for each house. That's about $5,000. There is a capacity reserve fee for to tie into the system. That's about $4,000. And then the cost to install it, which is about $5,000.
Yeah, and that
So-
pump station is on us to install?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and to maintain.
it's 5,000 plus 5,000?
Yeah, so overall, it's the 7,000 plus the 4,000, 7,000 for the force main crossing the lot,
Yeah,
the 4,000 capacity reserve fee
We
to
don't-
connect to the sewer.
We don't pay that to start, if we do it now and we're putting it in,
That goes away.
that goes away, right?
No, none of these costs go away.
Okay. That's just not how it reads.
That's not how it reads at all.
Yeah.
That's very misleading.
It reads it's 7,000, but if you add all those together, it's like 10 or 12.
Yeah.
So it's showing the discount
In the future,
for
you will be
that.
required to connect to your septic system, and when you do connect, please be aware that there are additional costs that you will incur.
Yes, if you do
If we do
connect.
that in the future, so we're saying that,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at it, like the 7,000 is that amount, is half of that amount. So the letter reads that it's
$7,000.
7,000, not
If
14.
we do it now, but if we wait and we have to do additional, then those costs come in. You're
Yeah.
telling me that it's not 7,000, that it's almost 20,000.
Yes, I am telling you that. I apologize for for, yeah.
Wow.
I made a I'm sorry for the
Not be a
language.
mistake, it's a
Well, that's why I asked you to come here.
$50,000 mistake.
Well, that's why we're here. We're here
That's
to
why
talk
we're
about
here, so we can talk about
it. A
it.
mistake hasn't been made yet. We're here to
Okay.
talk about it.
All right.
So, if you connected today, if there was an option, it'd be approximately $20,000. If you connected in the future, depending on how the board decides to deal with the $7,000,
Yeah.
whether it's paid today or sometime in the future, overall, you would be paying, or the cost to connect is $20,000.
Yeah, okay. But then we'd be required to connect when a septic system for a two-bathroom house is 20,000, have it fully done, right?
But
So
it's
we're not
about
allowed-
the same.
We're not allowed to bring in, to do a new septic system, is what you're saying, so we basically take it or leave it, right? Take it or leave it.
So if,
Like it-
Well,
If-
it would make sense at 7,000, but when it's
Yeah,
14, 15, that
Absolutely.
changes things,
it's more than 14.
yeah.
what's that? It's, my understanding was that the septic system is running around $25,000 right now to replace.
Yeah, but then I don't have a sewer fee,
No,
all right? I don't have to pay a monthly sewer fee. So where's my savings?
we're not requiring you to connect.
No, but you're requiring me if my septic system fails to connect. Yeah.
We wouldn't, it was the town actually that requires that. But yes, it's the subsurface rules of the state of Maine require, if you have public sewer in front of your lot, basically, if your septic system fails, you have to connect. So if this happened and you didn't choose not to connect, and your septic system failed, the town would then turn around and require you to connect.
But if I choose not to have them run it by my house,
That's why we're
Completely
meeting.
That's why we're here to.
That's why we're
entirely
here.
an option.
That would be the decision, we are gonna run it, and we can decide later. If you run it, then we need to look out now, or when our system fails. Right.
That's correct.
But if you don't extend it now,
It's not gonna happen.
It's not
it wouldn't happen.
Nick, do you mind if I just go to the board
Not at all.
real quick? I just want to make sure everybody's understanding what's going on here and getting on. So currently, right now, the subdivision is planned to go out through here, to the back of reserve property, and extend out. Risberry is proposing a sewer line to go down through here, and then extending that sewer line out to include these two lots down here. That would leave everybody on this side of the road and this side of the road out from sewer service. You would not have that
It
option.
only leaves two houses, John and myself. There's no other houses on that side of the street.
Yeah, there's,
So-
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'm
I thought you
talking
were talking about
all
that side of the
these
street.
sides.
Yeah.
So on the left side of here,
Okay.
towards
Yeah.
South Portland. So essentially, these two houses, all these houses along
Yep.
here would not be serviced by sewer if they propose, which they're going to do, one way or another. Their proposal, or Dave's thought was at the time, there's failing septic systems, it may be in the benefit of you, the residents there, to, instead of having Risberry extend to service only these two lots down here, potentially bringing it down the road, incurring some costs, and servicing everybody in the properties along Highland Avenue, including these two lots. So if it's going to go in here no matter what, and potentially extend to these two lots, it likely will. If they do that, nobody will have the opportunity to connect
Yep.
out here. Okay? So the proposal was, well, maybe it would be a benefit to you, the residents, to come down the road with the sewer extension this way and be able to service all of these lots. And that's why we're
Yeah.
here tonight, is to try to decide, is there interest from you all to do that? If not,
It was an interest at 7,000.
Yeah, well, that's what it comes down to, right? Like, I mean,
Let's face it.
the interest is all about cost.
yep,
I can only speak for myself, but I assume most people here would like to be on city sewer. But if it costs the same as replacing a septic system, what's the point?
completely understand. Yep, yep.
To-
And that's exactly why we're here tonight. At the last
You
meeting,
know-
when Dave proposed this, we said as a board, well, let's get some input from the residents. We don't want them to incur costs that they don't
Right,
have.
replace that septic system at the same cost and now get a monthly bill. I mean, that's ludicrous, really.
But is there, I mean, where that $7,000 number was derived from, like, is there better ways to understand that and noodle that dollar down, or?
Oh, sure.
You can help with that. Did I
Yeah, no.
speak at all?
You can speak it all.
Yep.
So, Risborough gave me a price, established a price to run the sewer down here and broke it down to a cost per foot.
Mhm.
They turned around and applied that same cost per foot this direction, but they took this length of sewer and deduct, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so they put this sewer here and then took that, it came out to $75 a foot and developed that cost, and we divided it by the 10 homes that would benefit from,
Would it make sense to do a little bit more of a nuanced approach in the sense of, there's sewer right there, service that house on sewer, right? Because why run the sewer all the way? That's like an additional 400 feet of unnecessary run.
this sewer on this that sewer is this area here is
Yeah.
is a private sewer system. We don't.
Bornheimer's
Yeah,
private
It's
sewer?
a private sewer system owned and operated by the
Okay.
homeowner association. They
Okay.
discharge into the sanitary district, but we do not own or operate that
Yeah.
sewer system. So,
Is this proposed, I don't know who owns this home, but is it proposed to put the sewer up there? I'm assuming this is the sewer line, right?
yeah.
Why,
We stopped, that house has I can't remember why we.
I mean, we're talking about 400 feet of no homes, that's what I'm getting at. So if we're talking about a
Well,
foot cost
there's a
basis.
house going in right here, right now.
That would be tied to the Risborough project, correct?
Yeah, it's not tied to a
No, this one
Risborough
is not
project.
tied to the Risborough project.
Oh.
This is
Oh, that's further out.
that's further up, all the way
Number
down,
50.
it's a new number, it's number 38, it's under construction now. They actually have, because they have to in order to build a home, they actually have in hand a septic system design.
Yeah, just as a proposal, just to throw this out there, and anyone tell me to be quiet anytime, but if there's no homes, why run all that footage? I mean, if we price it out
And are we paying?
to understand
Is that part
their
of our
distance for what they're doing is gonna go to approximately here. So if we divide it out by the residents and go to just the end of the property line, we can understand the cost, and that's probably half the distance.
But we're paying for another 400 feet but of no land, nobody's land.
Are we talking two different places? Because the place we should be concerned is number 38. Isn't that the house that's being built next to number 30 now?
Yes.
Number 30, then there's woods, and then
I
there's
just, you know,
construction.
So
And that's included in this project.
this is here, this house here, so here are the two existing houses.
Correct.
Yeah. Here's that one there.
Yeah, and that's.
This
that's
right
Kathy's
now,
house.
this right now is now number 38.
That's great, but I mean, for us as residents owning here,
Yeah.
shouldn't have to pay for 400
So
feet.
you wanted, you'd like to stop it there and then establish that cost.
Well, I just question for the group, this isn't just about me, I'm just saying that.
Makes
The
sense.
for- that additional footage,
Yep, no, I.
if we're paying, you know, the cost, I think, is gonna be the breakdown. If we measure this out,
Mhm.
take that down across the road, it's gonna cover 2/3 of it, so there's really only a third of distance to cover.
Yeah.
So it's just food for thought.
Do we have property owners here from number 38?
Right there.
Yeah.
I suspected.
So I didn't realize that they were running it all the way. I thought we were paying up the road to access it.
From Bornheimer, probably, right?
No. Bornheimer's a separate deal.
Yeah.
So I was told for us, it's the same cost currently right now that it install a 4-bedroom septic, but the benefit of value having public sewer was of interest when they proposed this. So we're basically paying up a portion of the road as well. So I don't know how far necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know what that distance is right there.
Probably,
Yeah.
my property line is this one, and there's 200 feet of road frontage,
Wait,
so
your property line
I'm
is-
from here to there,
Yeah.
and that's
they're not
200 feet of road frontage.
It's gonna be 300 yards or so,
It's a lot.
probably 300 yards.
It's probably the whole distance of, from their entrance to the ball
I guess
field.
what I'd be curious about, and if I didn't take it this way, but I thought that basically we were paying for the portion to come up to the road because it was ending just after that original reserve property. So
That's
I don't know
what
that that's
I thought, yeah.
impacting you when they got up with that $7,000 number.
So this is how I came up with the numbers. I took the distance and I divided it by 10 homes,
Yeah,
equally. And I left it at that. If we shorten up the distance, obviously, we get rid of one home because if we stop it at here, you're
Yeah.
dividing it by 9 homes, and the price would go down.
I think, yeah, the dollar thing just comes around the confusion of the letter and the price, and then trying to understand a way to make it work. But it's a group conversation, not just me talking.
Yeah.
thank you.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah. No, and there's opportunity here, if I may. And if I think about this, if I was a homeowner with a failing septic system in this, I'd be all for it, right? If I'm a homeowner that just replaced my septic system 3 years ago, it doesn't make sense at all, which is why we got you all together and wanted to talk about it.
Now, we've looked at other, over the years, we've looked at other neighborhoods to sewer. And typically, you have, everybody's broken into camps of a third. You have a third that had a failing septic system and want the sewer. You have a third that just replaced their septic system and don't want the sewer, and you have a third that just don't know where they stand. And so, I mean, I don't know your septic systems, I just know what the dates of them are. But my septic system was built in 1972 and seems to be running fine, so, I don't know. But that's, go ahead.
I just have a question. So when does the impact, whatever it is, it ends up being 7,000 or whatever the total number is there,
Yeah.
that you have to pay, when does that need to be paid, I guess, if you're not actively moving up right now?
That really would be up to the board to determine. There's options out there. If we move forward with it, the hardest option to swallow is, today. There have been other proposals out there paying it in an incremental basis over a period of time, or the option of paying it when you connect. And when you connect or when you transfer your property. So there's really kind of 3 options out there, and that's not my call, it's really the board's call on how they would want to handle the money situation.
Okay.
What's the proposed time frame in terms of installation of the lines?
I would suspect it's this summer,
Yeah.
yeah. And projects usually come forward to us, and then within a few months, they're looking at building.
We live at 24, so it's going to be going behind our homes. Should that fail in the wetlands, it's our responsibility for repair between our home and the hookup there. Who's responsible for that? Does the town own it? Does the HOA own it? If it fails, what happens?
You talking about this section here?
Yes,
If that pipe
if
fails?
something happens.
In this case here, the district only owns typically what's in the public right of way. Anything through the green space would be owned by the homeowners association, and they would be required to fix it.
So hypothetically, if we did the extension, it would be owned by the Scarborough Sanitary District. Yeah.
So if you did it this way, the district would take ownership of all of the sewer and all of Trestle Way. If it's serviced this way,
And it keeps it out of
It keeps it out of the wetlands.
what's that?
It keeps it out of the wetlands if you extended it.
Oh, up,
Correct.
down, the-
Open space wetlands.
So you haven't decided which way you're going to go, whether it's going to be along the Highland Avenue on the roadway or whether it's behind? I'm confused about that. Is that
Yeah,
still up in the
we
air?
then wanted to hear from you guys. That's why we had you here, because we haven't made the decision yet. It's one or the other. It's either gonna be private behind you, or it's gonna be public in front of you, where you have the opportunity to connect, but there's the associated costs. We think overall, it's a reasonable deal for you guys based on the age of most of your septic systems, that for the cost of the septic system, you could hook up to public sewer. The monthly fee is relatively low compared to other communities. When you talk about getting septic systems maintained and pumped, there's cost to that too that can be almost as much as our sewer fees. So, we thought it was a reasonable deal, but we wanted to rope you guys into the process and hear from you.
What is the monthly fee now?
Can I interrupt you 1 second, Ben? I think you need to be next door. I just saw your daughter go by.
Okay, thank you. I'll be back.
Daughter's getting an award next.
Oh, yeah, oh, nice.
Some things are more important, I'm sorry.
So right now, it's about $110 a quarter, $440 a year. That's what.
And those,
Is it tied to water usage, or is it just?
No.
It's just a fee?
it's single, it's tied to dwelling units, actually.
It's a
So
great fee too.
if, so a single-family home is one dwelling unit. If you have an accessory dwelling unit, an apartment that you have on your house, then it would be two times two.
I have a question. If they go down Highland Avenue, do the two new houses on Highland Avenue connect that way so that it does not go through the freeway?
Correct.
Yes.
They would connect
There's
via
a
Highland
benefit to
Ave.
that.
And
And any more additional lots that may be in that section, I don't know if there's any there, or there's plans to be, but there's,
I don't think so. The only,
yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
speculating, I don't know if
the
there's any
only,
additional
only
lots.
additional lot that I would possibly is, I'm gonna, 38 seems to be a big lot and a lot of frontage, and I would suspect that, although since recently been subdivided, I don't think it can be subdivided again
That's true.
in the near term. I mean, at some point in time it can be, but I don't know, I'm not in the planning department, so I don't know that timeframe.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands, we're not trying to drive this down your throat and make you incur, this is actually an option. We thought, here's an option here to potentially bring public sewer to the group. We wanted to get your feedback as to how you felt about it.
I personally think it's a great idea, it's just tough to stomach, but the savings, to think it was 7,000.
Yeah,
I
it's a great idea for
apologize.
7,000.
Yeah,
It's not a great idea for 20. It's just not. Okay, every other year, $220 to get it pumped out. I gotta pay now the cost of a new septic system, and pay you guys $400 a year. I mean, do the math.
And one of the things about that is sewer's great. If you have sewer by a house, it's gotta be the best thing in the world. Fortunately, you have a pump station on your property now. So understand it's not gravity feed. You have to pump that sewer out to the home.
Yes, there's electric.
Right, so there's a cost of $5,000.
I understand that.
If you lose power,
You can do it either way.
Either
you're
way.
not pumping that sewer, right?
Wait,
Think
can you
about
say that again? If you lose power and you don't have an auxiliary, if
Right.
you don't have a generator, can you tell us?
So, yeah, so septic is gravity feed, right? With this system with low pressure, you're pumping out to the source, not a gravity feed system. So as you pump your sewage into this on-site station, you have it in your basement somewhere, right?
No, it'll be on the
On
yard.
On the yard, where it's, yeah, outside.
We're on septic, so we have our own tanks. We
Right.
can hypothetically make our tank,
Yeah,
or a pump station.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, can you do that? Dave?
No.
Not
you can't do
necessarily, because the way these things work, they're proprietary systems that all share a force main.
Yeah.
So
And this
all the
one-
pumps
this
have
one.
to be the same
The,
to
the,
make this system work.
the, to speak towards that though, they do require power to run. But during a power outage, and I think they hold about, I want to say 60 gallons, is 60 or 70 gallons, I can't remember. But you think about it, during a power outage, you're not taking a shower, you're not doing laundry, it's really just the minimal water usage. So people tend to find that the pump stations have sufficient volume to get them through nominal power outages. Obviously, if you're going to be out for a week, you'd have issues. And there's things you could do. There's outlets to run the pumps or have them pumped individually from like a septic hauler.
So how much space does the pump take up? This is all hard.
Basically, it looks like a 50-gallon drum.
On your property sitting?
Yeah, but
In the
well,
ground.
it's in the
It's in the
ground.
ground.
It's in the ground.
It's in the ground.
You may have a power pole of some sort standing up occasionally,
So
depends on how
everyone's
it's
installation
connected.
is gonna be priced differently judged by what they have to work with, right?
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, so if you have bedrock on your property, it might take more than if someone's just.
Because I think you indicated you're on the other side, you're on the odd side of the street.
The onside, yeah.
Yeah, so in your case, you would have you would have to cross the street in order to get into the
So I
sewer.
have to pay for that. I have to
Yeah,
cut the street.
yeah, you'd have to
get the crossing
and
guards.
get the crossing, yeah.
So that's a $50,000 septic system.
Well, I don't know about that, but,
This is getting worse.
So
so,
we would be required to have backflow preventers to prevent anything that might come back into our homes?
Well, the way these systems are designed, because they're proprietary and you're all using the same thing, there's a curb stop on your property that has a backflow preventer or a check valve. And in the pump station itself, it's got two. So the likelihood of something coming back into your pump station from someone else's is small, very small.
If installed correctly.
And if nothing goes wrong?
well,
Quick question for you for the odd homes, for the odd side street, like John and myself. When it's determined to tie in, so I'm just trying to understand, because that road thing's a big pickup, right? Dealing with going under the street.
And that would be on us.
That would be on literally just the two of us. Two of us have to pay for all that.
yes,
And what's the average cost of that, on top of the 20,000?
that I don't know. I don't have.
But
You
that,
do about $100 a foot, and however many feet from your property line
You
to
probably
the
have pretty good.
Yeah, I'm an excavation contractor,
Yeah.
so Nick's right on $100 a foot is a rough estimate.
but then the road crews to close the road.
Town of Scarborough requires a road opening permit when you road. I don't think anything's newly paved by there.
Yeah, the DOT just put a 10-year moratorium on the street in 2020.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, so,
So there
Oh,
may be
on
more.
Island Avenue?
yeah.
Really?
So we have to pay,
DOT
we have
did
to pay to have it repaved too?
You would have to, the town requires that you have, well, if it's a DOT maintained road,
Yeah, the
They
DOT
put a
kinda
moratorium
snuck
on
that
it.
in, because I was working on getting town water.
there are certain things that could inflate the cost considerably for opening that road, depending on how, you won't have to go too deep, but you're gonna have to cut the pavement, put a 5-year bond on the road, to make sure that it doesn't, I had to do this actually for my own personal
Right,
residence.
so what are we talking about? Give it
So,
ballpark.
I would-
I'm not gonna keep it to you, but.
Yeah, no, I think if you're talking about a pump station to connect to a system like this, opening up the road, you're probably looking at $35,000 to $40,000.
On top of the sewer?
No, I'm talking about full connection.
Full, $35,000.
I'm expecting, 50 to 75 feet from your house, thinking about I know the
Yeah.
neighborhood very well. 50 to 75 feet to the roadway, and then extending out into the roadway another 15 to 20 feet.
So, but the
That's a
larger question, I
guess.
guess, just for the individuals on the odd side, if this passes and we don't tie in, I mean, that's like sell your house because you can't afford to.
Yeah.
sewer.
Is that it? You were basically being bullied into
You know,
being on your thing or not?
no,
right?
if I look at this way for if I were to come in and put a septic system in, which I've done several in the last year, anywhere from 25 or $20 to $30,000, depending if you're on ledge or other things that you're dealing with a new tank, a new, leach field, everything included. So comparable money for a whole entire new septic system, I would guess that would be for the people on the side of the street that the main's gonna be on. $10,000 to $15,000 more probably for the other side of the street.
Yeah, but if this happens, it's gonna be replaced in the future.
If your septic system fails.
Yeah.
And that's, the town requires you to do that. If sewer is readily available, you must connect if you have a failing septic system.
So is there
That's
any way we
actually
can
not a
get that
town,
done?
that's
It's a Maine
actually,
state
that's not a town requirement.
State.
That's a state of Maine requirement.
Yeah, you're right.
So, but if it's run on that side of the road,
We're the only ones that get screwed, Joe.
and so all these new houses going in, there's Bear Brothers, now we're basically getting kicked in the ass because you were letting him build homes back there, right?
Not us. We don't have any skin in that
Would that
game.
be fair to say?
No.
No,
It wouldn't?
no. I mean, they're incurring the cost just like any other homeowner or development. Drew, you may have some words of wisdom from the,
No, just a quick thought, and I don't want to speak for the developer of the project, but an idea is, the developer will have to cut into the road anyway for the water here.
Yeah.
While
That's
the
a-
road's
that's a
open,
great point.
could sleeve it, I don't know, what, $20 a foot, something for a PVC sleeve. That way you don't have to open up the road later if you were to connect, that would save your
That's a great
pavement
option.
fee. It would not eliminate the longer length, but it would save the pavement fee at that point, which is probably $5,000 to $10,000,
Yeah.
so.
That's huge.
That'd be a little more comparable for the people on the other side. It's something that I think, we could work with the applicant on, whether, who covers the cost of the sleeve again, but I think we have to open the road up in the moratorium requirements, which are the expensive part of that.
Maybe you should have led with that.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to stay, to be honest, I'm trying to stay out of this. This really doesn't have to do with the applicant, so I'm really trying to, just
Okay.
the idea of, when you're talking about the extra cost, if there's gonna be some work happening there, I think it's reasonable to do something like that.
All right, I appreciate that, Drew, because that's kind of like what you and I were talking about at the last
Same
town hall
thing for
meeting
the
about
water. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so, just
yeah,
an
I
idea.
forgot about the water portion. That's a very good point, Drew.
Yeah.
And there's other opportunities there, so.
That was-
It's down to 30. I don't know, there's nothing, cut off a leg to put a brand new leg on there. There's nothing wrong with my septic system. So basically, you're asking me to pay $30,000 to fix something that ain't broke, and I live in a 150-year-old.
I don't have to.
I know,
That's-
well, if my septic system fails, then I can't even do anything. So,
I mean,
yeah.
if we were to pull a straw vote right now, there are 5, 6 owners on the board. How many of you would want this to happen in the
We
borough?
would want it to happen. I'd like to have more hard numbers. I'm gonna go back and tell my wife it's not 7,000, honey, it's 30,000. How do you like that?
That's
And now
the
you're telling me
caveat.
maybe it's not 30 because of the road that's gonna be opened up, I can tie in. So until I see some hard numbers, I don't know how you budget your household, but I budget my household by knowing what the hell I'm gonna be paying. So I'd like to hear some hard numbers on that, other options than that.
And the question would be if there's an ability, you might not be able to answer this, but if there's whoever the subcontractor is that's doing the septic systems for the houses, if they could quote out a true estimate per home, that'd be a great way to understand it better.
Well, I think you have an estimate for a septic system already.
I do, but it's a totally different cost when you're putting a brand new
Yeah,
one
Yeah.
as opposed to you have
I
to,
agree.
can you put it somewhere else on the lot? Do you have to replace all of the fill that's there? You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm not talking about, I'm sorry, I might be referring to septic as sewer, but I'm saying
A sewer connection.
someone is going to be doing the connection at each of those homes being built. It'd be great to have an understanding of, they can quote out what it would be, and they'd be the same contractor per se, or an offered contractor to be doing it for each of the 70, whatever amount of homes. That way there's a number we can actually sink our teeth in.
Maybe get more than one,
So,
Yeah, I guess I would just add to that, you're talking about today numbers versus when your septic fails numbers, so there could be a lot of flexibility between that.
Completely understand that.
I will say, just the numbers that Dave gave, being in the business are reasonable. I think that's typically what you see. You know, doing a hard number, you need a legit quote and you have to give a time frame to it. But yeah, I mean, again, just Dave's numbers are realistic, from what I understand, so.
Thoughts, other questions from anybody?
It's overwhelming, frankly.
I love the idea of it at $7,000.
Would that we could do it for just
Yeah.
Well, if you read the letter, that's what you kind of led to believe.
You know, frankly, I did read the letter. Dave asked me to look at it. I said, I don't have any comments on it, and I didn't catch that. So it's on us. Again, our apologies.
I kind of picked up on when I got the second letter. When it wasn't this one I signed off,
Oh, yeah.
I got the second one a couple of days ago. The more I read it, And a friend of mine works for the city of Portland waste water. He happened to stop in and go over a lot of these things for us. So I kind of we had a feeling 20,000, 22,000, just adding those rough numbers up.
Yeah.
Not knowing exactly what the excavation costs for me would be compared to some that my system now is out front. So I'm assuming they just put into that, but the septic is out of ours now. I mean.
That's
like-
possible.
Yeah.
That's a completely, and to Drew's point, you know, everybody's situation is different. Does the current septic system dump out at the back of the house? Are you coming around the house to connect the sewer? Are you
That's my
going
point.
through and reboring a new hole through? There's lots of other
Mine's
questions,
gonna
and
be
every individual is different.
Straight from the house to there, it's not gonna have to go around
Right.
the way that it comes out now.
Yep.
That's the way I look at it, so I'd be looking at $100 a foot or whatever you said, roughly.
Yep.
From the house to the street. Yours is in the back, so you'd have to go around.
Yeah, and there's other potential there. There's potentially
Change.
plumbing things in the house that could change to come out the front. There's every situation is different, and it's very difficult to give a hard
Yeah,
estimate on everybody, a flat number for everybody to live with. Quite honestly, I was just going to comment on the letter. I read the letter when I received my packet the other day that I got. It was the first glimpse that I had gotten at it, and because I knew the situation, I just read over it, and I didn't catch it either. I was already knowing of the situation, so it made sense to me, but I can completely understand now why there was some confusion.
Yes.
Is there a wastewater and sewer separation system, or is it all going into the sewer?
It's just sanitary waste. Is that what you're saying?
Or
I'm not sure.
stormwater?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Stormwater,
No,
there's
there's
no
no
stormwater.
stormwater.
Stormwater does not go into the sewer, no.
No, so if you had a roof drain, you wouldn't want to go into this pump station.
Actually, not.
I had property in Portland and dealt with all of this for many, many years, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't any of that.
You know, actually.
We're not doing that.
Scarborough,
Good.
fortunately for Scarborough, it's a relatively new system. And so we don't have it's called a combined sewer system where you have stormwater and wastewater going to the same pipe. In the cities, that's very common. And because as you think about it, back in the day, they just had drains and it just dumped into the water bodies. And then they captured those drains and they started treating them, and consequently they have, in Portland, where you're starting to get hit with impervious fees.
Stormwater impact fees.
Stormwater impact fees, yeah. Yeah, we don't have that here in Scarborough.
We do everything we can to keep stormwater out of our sewer system. They like it to be in there, a completely different situation.
So what's the path forward? You guys take this to an internal vote?
Well,
And hear what happens?
The path forward, we have a proposal from Ms. Bearer right after this to vote on. I don't think we can directly vote on it one way or the other, but given what we just discussed. We have a little more homework to do, maybe?
I was wondering, does the board have any reconsiderations back on this project to either the contractor or internally to offer the homeowners? Like you opened up the discussion to throw this out to them, right? Do we have any recourse to come back and consider any particular item? Like a particular item would be the reduction of the sewer.
We still have it. Yeah.
We talked about opening up the roadway, right?
400 feet.
Yeah, you
You'd be leaving them out.
I know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. I'm sorry about that, but it's just considerations that, now, if I were a homeowner and I had sewer available to me and my septic system wasn't in great shape, depending on where it was located too, I'd be considering going to sewer. It's always a pleasant thing to know that that waste is going out somewhere else, not on your property. So there's a lot of things to really think about here.
Absolutely, I mean, it's a great idea.
It's just the
Is it
cost.
affordable?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a lot more. And is there any way that the Risbera brothers, will the Risberas, can they even pick up some of the costs of that? More than they are? For what they're doing in the neighborhood?
Well,
As a goodwill gesture, if you will.
I gotta say, the $75 a foot is actually a very reasonable cost. I typically, in this application, at least $100, if not more, per foot along a roadway. I would typically think it would be about $150 a foot. I would not be surprised by.
In
Well,
my,
that's because it's a split 50-50 cost, right?
What's that?
It's a split cost, it's half us, half Risbera's.
Well, that was the cost they gave me
Yeah, okay.
to extend the sewer.
Did you see the numbers though? I mean, that's what they told you.
I didn't see them. I just know what other projects, but I've been in the engineering now for.
I understand that. It just seems that nobody says no to these folks, and you just throw a number up and everybody says, yeah, that sounds great, because it's who they are. And maybe another number or another idea, maybe somebody else coming in and saying, well, actually, it's not 7, maybe it's less.
Oh,
no, I was in a different district. I did several sewer extensions. The last one we did was $443 per foot.
I'm not
$500,000.
concerned. I hate to say this, but these folks build a lovely home, but that's just a lot of space to carry that cost across.
And one thing to keep in mind here, this isn't the only bite at the apple. If we don't do this, we can always put the sewer in later. Or if we only go a certain distance, we can always extend the sewer later.
You don't know that that person's gonna give you the deal, right?
It won't be for $75 a foot though, that's the thing. It'll be a lot more
It'll be a lot
later.
more money later.
Yes.
And that's why I brought I looked at this and it's like, is this an opportunity for us to sewer this area at a reasonable cost?
Yes, ma'am.
So if it came down through the
Green space.
green space, those people abutting that green space, could they hook onto that part from that backside as opposed to frontage on the street?
You mean through the backyards?
Yes.
We're not gonna let you do that. Sorry, not
What's that?
happening.
Well, these are all lots
Right,
that prevent you from connecting onto Trestle Way, so
right.
you'd have to actually get easements through people's yards, which
Well,
She's the one she owned all that land.
yeah.
well, no, I mean, you've got, like, so I see
There's
this
like-
is the septic, the sewer line.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all these people right here, if they wanted to hook on, could they go this way?
And you know what? We can't give you permission for that. The same reason we can't give you permission to hook to Bornheimer Lane. It is a private sewer line at that point.
Yeah, this is private, this is private property.
Oh, I see.
It's the
Could the
homeowners
developer-
association.
Could the developer give permission? I mean, is it possible to hook into that system to begin with?
Going that way, I don't know. I mean, I don't have an answer for that. That being the case, the district wouldn't own any of this. And I know you guys are concerned about the.
What happens if it fails?
If it fails.
Yeah, you guys are responsible for it.
What do you think, Drew?
I guess just one thing that I haven't been brought up yet that I'd offer is, currently your homes are on septics now, and you're allowed to put an accessory dwelling unit on your lot per the state of Maine's, right? So if you wanted to put like a 600, 700 square foot, one of your limitations is septic. So right now, you might not actually be able to do that by right because of a septic size issue. If you're on the public sewer, that goes away. So in my mind, a benefit, if I was a homeowner here, is property value increase, right? Or if you wanted to add an accessory dwelling unit in the future, if you wanted to sell your home, then someone could add it in the future. So that's a limitation that if this plan in the right of way doesn't go through, it's very unlikely in the future to go through because now is the time to do it. As Dave said, the $75 a foot, you're probably never gonna get a better price than that, excluding inflation, escalation, anything like that. It's typically in 150 range. So this is already, we'll call it half off. So if we did this exercise in 20 years again, after this subdivision goes in, it's gonna be double the cost, plus whatever inflation is. So just keep that in mind, is it's never gonna be cheaper than it is now. And I do think there's real value in increasing the lots for it. In addition, you're not putting wastewater back into the soil. So from an environmental perspective, it's the best thing forward. Now, I understand there's a cost aspect to that. I think the district's done a good job in trying to relate those costs that, you know, with the exception of, you know, something we could possibly do for the property owners across the street, it's pretty comparable. Yes, there's gonna be a fee, but again, I think that $440 a fee you're gonna have in the future that's reoccurring is, again, there's property value associated with it. So I think that's what I think you should weigh, and I do think now's the time. It's either gonna happen now or it's not. You know, representing the applicant, I know this is the plan we came up with because it's not gonna impact the roadway, and honestly, it's probably the cheaper plan for the applicant to do it through the open space. Working with Dave, he had, well, what about the road and the total community benefit to that? And it makes sense. So the applicant is willing to do this, and while there's construction crews on site, you're getting a savings because you're saving on mobilization, you're saving on traffic control, because they already have to bring it up there. So it really does make sense, but I understand there's a cost association with that. I think it's comparable enough that.
I'd like to see a number before I sign on the dotted line, obviously.
Yeah, and I think that's. I think that's.
Say, hey, yeah, let's do it, and then I get a $40,000 adjustment. Hey, I thought you said 30. So, you know.
And the tough part is gonna be, again, when your septic fails, that's a different time, so it's not gonna be a hard cost given now. It's just not possible because of, I mean, if.
I understand.
The intrinsic cost, John.
Yeah,
I understand.
Your homes do that.
I understand that, but I'm saying if we decide to go this summer, what's gonna be my cost this summer?
They could get even more, I mean, again, I think Dave's costs are very close, that he could probably get you a more detailed cost, like, hey, if you were to
Well,
connect,
we're talking
when
about
this is
digging up the
going
road.
in.
I'd like to see what you guys are gonna do for me digging up the road. If you say you're already there, what am I paying for the road?
The delta, you're saying, if you had to replace the
Yeah, I'm
road
on the other
versus.
side, so
Yeah.
if I tie into that system, I'm not like the rest of, me and this guy, we have to dig up that road. What's our cost for the whole road thing too?
Yeah.
Drew's looking at that.
Yeah, so that's what I'd like to see.
Again, I'm not offering that on behalf of the applicant. What I'm
Okay.
saying is the road will be open, that the cheapest for everyone involved would be to, even if you weren't connecting it, is to sleeve it, so put a PVC pipe in. $20 a foot for $30 is $600, somewhere in that range for just material costs.
Okay.
The contractor's already there laying the pipe. What you're not gonna have to pay for is the restoration cost.
Like the road crew.
The road, because that's already borne by the applicant for the water services, so
Yeah, well, that's what I was asking.
that would be the delta. Now, if you say, nope, don't wanna do that, then you're gonna have to pay to reopen the road and repave it later. The moratorium, I believe, went in effect in 2022. I think it's only 5 years.
I was
100%.
told by DOT, but I could be wrong.
I might not be, but I was under the impression it's around 27, 28 when the moratorium's up. That makes it cheaper to restore the pavement. I think in your case, we could get around the moratorium issue, because if you decide to put the sleeves in now, when the construction's happening, so.
Okay.
I spoke with a DOT supervisor several years back when they repaved all Highland Ave in front of my house. And my main bitch was, excuse my language, was all the bicycles.
It's all right, you're not on mic.
On the roadway. I've witnessed 10 people hit by cars coming around that corner doing 30, 35, 40 miles an hour. I've seen vehicles go off the road.
In my yard.
I personally pulled them off the lawn from the sidewalk. And I've made my complaints to the police department. I was a policeman for 38 years, and they're saying, oh, geez, that didn't happen. But I have pictures. So I said to the supervisor, I said, why aren't you putting in a bicycle lane? Why aren't you posting a lower speed limit? Well, we can't do that. The road's not strong enough to widen the lanes and to support the asphalt to go into the shoulder. All they put down there is gravel, and 9 out of, they'll come in here, throw a couple of buckets of dirt in it, fill in the potholes. Several weeks later, there's potholes there again. There's people wiping out on their bikes to get into that little fog lane, between the fog lane and the soft shoulder, and they're killing themselves on their bicycles because of the
cars
cars.
are going so fast, so fast.
And the speed limit, and I heard that during this trestle-way, there was not gonna be any type of signal coming out of that private property, that roadway, which kind of got me upset. Someone said maybe a flashing light, but you've got to do something about the vehicle traffic. That vehicle traffic is going to be obnoxious.
And I totally appreciate your comments. I think this is limited to sewer, so
No,
I encourage you to take that to the planning board. We're still up for final subdivision, so we don't have a affirmative approval yet for the project, so I totally respect that. I think this is just related to sewer at this point, but.
Drew, I got a question. On the long side where these two gentlemen live, if the water goes in and you put a sleeve in for the sewer connection, isn't there a separation distance required? Or because the sewer line will be in the sleeve, we don't have to worry about separation between the two utilities?
What I would try to do is, I'm going to try to look at reorganizing this area to make it just one minimum trench cut. So there will have to be separation requirements 10 feet, but what I can do is put the water services closer together.
Okay.
And put the sewer services closer together, since those don't have separation requirements, and try to combine it. I might need a little bit of relief from Portland Water District to bend the service a little bit, but I think if I explain the situation, I think it's reasonable. So again, there's no promises, but it's something I got to look at.
I'm on water. I'm on city water.
So, yeah, I'm talking about water services for the other lots. Yeah. It's just the road will be open. I'll try to do my best to work through that.
It seems like it's changing all the time.
I have a question. Should we as the board take another look at this for the homeowners?
I mean, that's why we're here. I mean, when the Trestle subdivision came in front of me, I brought it in front of the board to, hey, this is an opportunity to service this area. Do you want me to look at it? And you asked me to contact the homeowners. I put together the letter and some cost estimates.
That's why we wanted.
That's why we're here. We're hearing their feedback, and I can appreciate the concern about the cost, because it is a lot of money. But then there's also if we do go forward with this, what type of arrangements for payment do we want to develop? So, we don't.
Is there a way maybe to gather a little bit more information, like circle it back,
Well, sure, I certainly can gather some more information and try to fine tune some of the numbers. But again, every home is, you guys are on the other side of the road. You've septic systems in the front. You're in the back, and you've got a septic system designed in hand, So everybody's system, has a different situation, and I can work with somebody to get a typical cost to put it in. I don't think it's practical or reasonable to expect to get 10 individual costs or something.
I understand that, but there's huge differences, I mean, we went from what we thought was 7 to now 35. So maybe we can pare that down, and gentleman here's giving some advice, so if nobody else talked about, so all of a sudden now he jumps up and says, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can save you 5,000, and this gentleman down here makes a very good one.
Yeah.
So maybe everybody could get together and say, hey,
You know, I can,
take another run at this, what else can we do?
No.
Because just in this period of time, these two gentlemen here have made some very good, you know, suggestions that is obviously gonna save us some money.
yeah.
So,
You know, I certainly can do that and fine tune the numbers. The reality of it is it's, you know, it's still going, overall, it's going to be around $20,000, you know.
I understand that,
But,
it just kept, it just seemed like went into the grocery store and you just kept adding stuff on as I'm sitting here. And I'm thinking, okay, now I live on I live on the wrong side of the tracks, which means now I gotta fix the road. And, you know, and well, we gotta go through Charlie's, and we gotta replace Charlie's tree because that tree's gotta go and, you know,
Luckily,
so.
we're not in the tree business.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank God, because you took them all down on the other side of the road. But anyways.
I don't think we did.
No, you didn't, but I'm sure, but somebody did, the wind wasn't that bad. Anyway, all right, well.
You know, you know, certainly,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking for direction, you
Yeah.
know.
And
And I think so are we.
Yeah,
And I think as board members, we will give that direction. I think we'll direct the superintendent to investigate this more, communicate with you all and your neighbors to clearly lay out how the process is gonna work if we go this route.
Thank you.
And
Proofread that letter.
next time I'll read it with a different set of eyes.
You go family now.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I don't want to be negative, but we're trying to be very positive about this. If something goes sideways on our property as a result of this construction, when we are hooking up, we get more water in our basement, the water table changes because of all that's going on. Our sump pumps, we start getting more water. Who pays for that? Who pays for if something goes wrong as a result of the
The
construction?
construction of this development,
Well,
that's the only thing that would affect.
We choose to hook up to, and in the process of hooking up to the sewer, something doesn't go right.
that
Not-
cost, that
not as a
cost would
result
be
of us.
incurred by the homeowner or potentially the person doing the work. That's a tough question to answer because the circumstances could be different for anything. I think if you're talking about the sewer portion of the
Sewer
project,
portion.
the sewer portion of the project,
I'm not worried about the other parts
yeah,
as far away.
the
from us.
contractor would have responsibility over controlling the site and things happening,
and insurance.
and insurance.
And the safest direction is on the street.
It is. The insurance of the homeowner or the insurance of?
No, the contractor has to have insurance to do their work that they're doing. They're licensed, they hold licenses to do this type of work, and they're required to have insurance. You know, you don't want to call up.
Do you work with any contractors? Jason has a
We
list.
can't recommend any,
You don't
but we
have-
have a list of those that are contract, licensed with the district.
That's what I mean.
That's what, yes.
Yeah, then technically not licensed with us, but, yeah, there are, I could easily give you 5 different names of contractors that have installed these types of systems, and I'm very confident in their work.
As long as, so, just to understand, obviously a licensed plumber, is there anything required if, when it ties into the sewer main from the town or from the district? What's required in that connection process?
No, you would take a sewer permit from us, it's $75. What, you know, and we would inspect it to make sure it was done and meets our standards, you know,
But if it's a
so.
licensed, I'm just asking, it's a licensed plumber, or is it just, you have a list
Doesn't
of
need to
only
be a
approved?
It doesn't need to be a licensed contractor to make the connection.
Designated?
No, we don't have any requirement. As a board, the town doesn't have any requirement.
Yeah.
You could do it yourself,
Yeah, that's what I'm
as
saying.
long as you have a
Yeah.
permit from the
Yeah.
sanitary
Yeah,
district.
and we just make sure it's done,
Yeah, and then you inspect it.
then we inspect it. I mean, the only requirement we have with regards to the pump stations, because it is a pressure sewer system, is the systems are UL rated. So, and the reason why we do that is to make sure they're a quality system.
Yeah, they don't degrade.
Yeah, there's plenty of homemade systems out there that you don't want.
Of course,
It just,
you don't want sewage.
you know, so they're readily available from various different vendors, and
Yeah.
we don't hold you to one.
I asked that question just because, like, for example, for the water district, it's not just a licensed plumber, it has to be off their approved list.
We don't have a list,
Okay.
but it does have to be inspected.
I have a question for Drew.
He's good, he gets up to the mic.
We trained him well.
Drew Gagnon from Borough Palmer. When does the developer need to know which direction the sewer goes in?
I've been thinking about that. So we're going to be on for final subdivision in April. We're submitting in March. And I believe after that approval, the applicant is going to want to start construction. Obviously, there's a little bit of a lag between when sewer goes in and when construction starts. So I was deciding if we ask for approval as the plan is through the open space and we work with the district on if the plan changes, I'd like to have the approval so that we aren't hanging the project up with the understanding if more information and the board decides to go in the Highland Ave direction, we could modify the plans in accordance with that. So I think I'd probably prefer that route, if that was acceptable.
So it doesn't answer the question. When would you need to know whether you're going down Highland Ave or going through the greens?
I would say by late April.
Late April, so we have 2 meetings between now and late April that we can research this, communicate more with our residents, potential customers, and move forward one way or the other. Okay, that helps. And if we need to, we'll schedule a separate workshop to do some more in-depth discussion.
I had a question for people. Who got the regular mail before the certified mail?
I just got one in the mail.
The mail's been a little messed up. recently.
Yeah, that's why he's asking, I think.
I'm
I haven't
still
had mail in 4
American
days,
Express
so.
card.
We're not getting mail.
You might not get.
We, as the district, we didn't get mail for a full week.
Yeah.
We did it now twice a week, once in a while we get one on a Sunday for a makeout. The mail that was delivered yesterday did not include Monday's mail. I have a thing on my phone that I see I'm getting a bill from so-and-so. And I did not get Monday's mail or Saturday's mail. I got Tuesday and Thursday from the week before. And the Scarborough Leader, I get them 2 at a time instead of every week. Not that has any bearing, but that's a separate, that's the mail system. And they're blaming it on the developers. Too much development, they've had to add, rumor has it they've had to add 5 more roofs in Scarborough because of all the development.
I got my February 7th Scarborough Leader yesterday.
I got mine Saturday.
There goes the things to do, huh? Just that opportunity.
And the certified letter didn't get delivered until almost a week, where we had to sign for it. He didn't make any attempt to have us sign, even though it's got it on the deck. I saw him coming, because it was after dark and the lights, when I step onto the deck, he throws something in the mailbox and takes off. You can pick it up after 9 o'clock tomorrow morning or whatever, but that was like 4 or 5 days after we postmarked. I don't know when the second letter that we got this week, the end of last week, when that was mailed.
I wouldn't be blaming the development. We're seeing this in other towns. I think it's more the post office.
It's just the idea. Yeah, I guess if if you don't mind, I'd just like to make a comment. While we have everybody here, everybody's schedule, we're not sure if we could get everybody together again with everybody's schedule. Is there anything that the board, we as a board want to ask this group while they are here tonight? Before we potentially lose some of the folks here. Is there anybody that's not representative of any of the properties?
Yeah, that's 10,
14, I believe.
14's not here.
It's
They
18
actually,
to 31, wasn't it? Or no,
Andre-
18 to
Andre's-
14.
Andre's not here.
16.
Okay.
16 is, yeah, but I don't know if there's anybody living there, they're doing,
And the woman is
Work.
together then.
yeah,
They're
that's
almost
right,
where me.
22, yeah, she's 22, so.
I mean, there's 10 lots total.
Yeah, Andre's not here.
And 5 are represented here, I think, or maybe 6.
2 of them Drew represents.
That's
So-
the two that haven't
Yeah.
going on yet, that'd be.
I mean, FYI, we have another meeting scheduled a month from today, so that would be March 27th. We'll discuss this again.
Yeah, and we'll bring it up.
You probably need an answer by then, sounds like. March 27th.
Yeah, I'd say by the April meeting.
So-
And if we need another meeting in between the March meeting and the April meeting, we'll schedule a workshop.
Now, I guess a question, I do have a question. If they do decide to move forward with this, is anyone other than you thinking that they would hook up right away, or you would just?
Given the scenario, I would, if I could understand costs.
I wanna,
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't say, I don't know how much it is. Even a ballpark, even within a couple of $1,000s, but, you know, a $10,000 range doesn't work for me.
I'll ask the other question, is there anybody here that is strongly opposed to even considering it at this point? No? Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
The system lasts so long, and you know how long I was been there. So,
Yeah.
if we don't hook in, it's gonna fail the next day, but that's.
Don't say
Sorry, that's,
I mean, if-
back to life.
If it was me, I try to look at it in that line, and I wouldn't connect if I had a septic system. I'd run my septic system until it failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd be knowing, but I'd be very happy knowing that I had when it fails, the sewer is right there. That's the insurance that.
My house is 1870s and I have an outhouse still. I'm not worried about it.
You're already redundant.
Pretty redundant, it's a freeholder, so.
Yeah,
That's a no-brainer, yeah.
Yeah.
And when is your house getting built?
Oh,
It's under construction.
it's still there.
Right, but when is it due to be? May or June? So you would need something soon.
Yeah, we have a baby coming in May, so.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Even if this was approved, would that happen in time?
What's that?
I don't think,
If this was approved,
even if it were
they would have
approved
septic.
the end of April, it wouldn't get to their house by
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it
It's a
would,
future
would
problem
it?
for us. I guess for our perspective, building a new house in Scarborough, even if it was a little bit more upfront, like, I'd rather say I have a public sewer and not, we actually live right around the corner off the roundabout right now, and we have a septic system we don't have the opportunity to hook up. And, you're just, it hurts your property value, and if something happens to it, that's a very costly number to fix. So having the opportunity to, I think, is absolutely good.
I guess my only last comment is, first of all, because many of you are probably going to be departing, we typically send save our trustee comments for the end of the meeting, but thank you all for coming. I hope everybody understands that we're not pushing you in any direction. This was a meeting called to try to get your feedback so that we can better make a decision as a board. Quite frankly, the board could have decided to have this project go without any input and you'd be on the hook. We would never do that as a board, I don't think, please trust that please trust that this is for your best interest, we wanted to hear the feedback from everybody here and get the pros and cons of this situation before we just went and made a decision, and then you would be on the hook no matter what. So please keep that in mind. But thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you. You guys, if you want to, you're welcome to stay. Trussell Way subdivision, the next con.
Yeah, I was gonna say about the same thing.
Appreciate you responding in a timely manner.
Oh, good.
Because he's discussing that, like I said, relative to the city board, they gave us an idea.
Yeah. I apologize for the language. I tried to be very forward with all the costs, and I had.
If you decide later you will have these
Yeah.
costs, I'm saying, you're gonna have these costs anyways,
Yeah.
these costs could be more, so I think you're going to understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
You're not gonna stay? You're not gonna stay? The Trussell Way?
Sure.
I gotta go. I'm coaching Bridget's softball practice, which is at 8 o'clock at the high school.
No worries.
I thought we'd be done by then.
So we still have quorum?
Do you have a quorum?
1, 2, 3, 4, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It did.
All right. I'll be in touch, Dave. I'm happy to help do some research and
Yeah.
over the next few weeks and
No worries.
get some stuff together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In good faith, this is a small impact to the district. Does the district have any flexibility in terms of how we can help them? Like example, you made a good point about the sewer. You don't put it in now. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going.
Trust me. Right? You know that, right? Right.
That's not up to me,
I know.
Tony. That's not up to me. I mean, it's
I
really
guess,
up
I
to
guess
the
my
board.
question to you is, the board has rules, and we have to play by the rules. I guess the question is, it's such a small, and, it's such a small distance, but it has a huge impact to a number of people that would benefit from it. Getting the sewer in, how can we help make that happen, and maybe cause some delays, or not delays, but reduction in when that tie-in occurs, or whatever.
Do you want to wait until we have this conversation? So obviously, this hasn't ended. Get the chairman back, and,
Yep.
and you can bring any of that discussion up. So this, Tony has started continuing the conversation.
Okay.
And I'm going to pass it over to Tony to.
So, I was telling Dave that this is such a small amount of sewer, but it has a huge benefit to a lot of people. And if we don't put it in now, it's not going in. You know that, right? So, the impact of getting it in the ground, right, and having some deferment to the owners as to what that payment is and when that payment occurs and when they have to tie in. I guess that's the thing that I'm trying to, Gore Palmer made a great statement. You have the opportunity to put it in. I think it's going to benefit the district and the people. That's just my opinion. How can we make that happen?
There are several ways. We could direct Whisper to put it in, and approve it that way, and absorb the cost for now, and then go back after the homeowner when the homeowner connects it.
Well,
That's one way.
that's one way, and I kind of talked about that. You're talking, I get the impression, I'm not trying to speak for you, basically the district providing some financial assistance whether, I'm just going one extreme to the other. This, where we are today is that the district isn't paying for any of that sewer extension. The district could absorb all of the costs of the sewer extension, and the homeowners still would have to pay, when they connect, they would have to pay those costs like anyone else does when they connect to the sewer. Is that what you're saying?
So that's another possibility. Or someplace in the middle where we would pay half and they would pay half.
I know John's a little loud about some stuff, but like, I think he wants to do it, he just needs to understand the cost.
Yeah,
you know?
we know that, and that's why we try to put this on the table. You know, one thing you said that made sense, though, we have a difference of one guy on one side, one guy on the other side. There's some additional costs for one guy, not the other person, right? Homeowner. And we want to make it kind of equal, and that the only equality that would happen is if we can get that sleeve in there somehow that allows that to happen without any impact to that other person. So
Put a sleeve in, I would pipe it.
I would put the pipe in. I would whatever. I mean, you're gonna open the road up, right? And I think there's a big benefit to some of these guys, some of the people on one side versus the other, where now you got equality here where they're all on the same boat. You've got that across the road. It's gonna be the same for all of them, all the homeowners, right?
So you're saying that the district should flip the bill for the Highland Avenue street crossing?
Well, I'm not saying that.
Would bring the stubs to the property line.
Right.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, right.
Either the district or Scarborough or some
Well,
cost.
there are no stubs included in this because we have no idea when people connect. And I've brought this up before, Pondview Ave, there was a pressure sewer system that was extended down Pondview Ave to service the
Rich Tool and Die.
Rich Tool and Die, thank you very much. And they provided a sewer stub for every home along Pondview Drive. Not one of those, that was 15 years ago?
No one ever tied it.
No one's tied in. And the problem is, you go to tie in and
You have to shut the whole system down, meaning everyone's pump has to stop working for someone to connect.
No. It's the stubs with the valves on it.
Right.
They get plugged after a while because they have no flow going through.
Right.
And so I think construction-wise, it's actually easier. They just do a wet tap, just like they do a water. And they tap the sewer service and when you go to put the sewers in and leave it at that.
So it's a 3-inch main. Remind me what diameter comes out of the E1?
1.25
1.25 inches. Okay.
So if you're suggesting that the sewer district front the cost, at some point we tie in, are we tying in the cost that was you spent to begin with, or you would have additional cost? So right now you're saying they're about $7,000.
Well, the cost, so any home tying into the sewer has the construction cost to connect. All right. They also are impacted by a capacity reserve, the district's capacity reserve fee, which right now is around $4,000 for that fee. Then if it's a gravity sewer service, you've got the cost of tapping into the gravity main and running that gravity main up to your house. If it's a pressure sewer system, you have the cost of the 1.25 sewer line tapping into the main and running it back to, plus the cost of the pump station. Depending on where you are gravity-wise, a gravity connection can be quite expensive because the sewers can also be very, very deep. Gravity sewers can be extremely deep. So there's savings in one way so there's those costs, and so in this case here, if the district absorbed the cost of the sewer extension down Highland Ave, the homeowners still would be responsible for the cost for connecting to the sewer, which is, I estimated in the letter at about $5,000. They would be responsible for the cost of the pump station, which is another $5,000, plus the cost of the capacity reserve fee, which is about $4,000.
I think she's
So
saying,
So call it $15,000
But
overall.
that 7,050 is the one
Would-
that goes away.
Would be the one, if the district took on the
So
cost.
you wouldn't expect us to pay that back when we go into it?
That's not my,
No, but if
yeah,
it goes.
That's up to us.
that's up to these gentlemen here. And
you answer my question,
what's that?
what she just said. With the numbers and who pays for what, right? That was a great question.
So in a sense, if you were to be generous and to do that, it would be less expensive for the homeowners.
Yes. But we also have to weigh that against setting a precedent.
Exactly.
Right.
I understand.
It's a rule, though. They have a rule in-house that,
Because I can remember when 114 was done, how controversial that was,
Yeah.
so.
What if there was an incentive for the first year, second year to tie in, and then the future cost is the future cost? You know?
We can do that too. That's been done.
I mean, there's all kinds of formulas that you could do.
And the more complicated we make it, the harder her job is.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
And the other question I had is that 400 feet that we're talking about from my house down to 38, because I live at 30. Who owns that piece of property? I mean, it's Risbear, right? I mean, who's responsible for it? Who pays taxes?
I actually don't know. I think Drew, you might know, 38, is that owned by Risbear or is that owned by,
I don't think it was acquired by Risborough.
Yeah.
No, it was. That
Was it?
piece
That piece
between
was-
mine, I owned right to that,
Okay,
to that fence.
okay,
I bought it.
okay. It's very, I really don't know.
So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are we being assessed for that when someone else?
well,
is
I mean, he
assessed?
brought up a good
That's the
point.
big crux,
That's
right?
the
I mean, I
big,
hate to, I didn't know if they were sitting there, but, you know.
I think they were.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't like it, but it's true, I mean, it's approximately 3/4 of the length of what the house is.
yeah, it's a good point.
and she's hoping to get it in her house in May, and she's doing it
She's
in
not gonna
May.
get- she's
I
not gonna
mean,
get this
the sewer's not gonna get there by that time. They'll be ending up building the septic system in order
But they
for
had
occupancy.
they had made the decision to move in there anyway.
Huh?
Before this, they'd already made the
Yeah, I know.
decision to buy a lot and build there before
Yeah.
this was even a
I
discussion,
mean,
so.
they
you
have
kinda
the
gotta leave that
design,
up.
they had
Right.
to in order to get.
We shouldn't take the opportunity away from anyone, but it's just hard to make that burden, all of these people's burdens, you know, in terms of cost.
I mean, as I said, I just very simplistically looked at it and say, okay, we got 10 homes, this is the distance divided.
I mean, on the right-hand side, past me, it's primarily, I don't think it's ever gonna be buildable. Cause it's owned by the lady off of Lancaster, I believe it to be wetland. So I don't think there's gonna be any more development, the ability for any more development on that leg.
Yeah, the only thing I can see is maybe 38 being subdivided into one more house lot. Probably, and there's a time frame because it was recently subdivided. So once you subdivide it, there's a time frame
I
before
think
you
that is the
subdivide
plan, because when I sold it, that was the plan. It would be subdivided in 5 years.
in 5 years. Yeah.
So the sewer would definitely
Yeah.
add to the value of that land.
What's that?
The other option is to just go through subdivision regulations, so you can still subdivide within 5 years. Just if you're avoiding the subdivision regulations, you have to wait the 5-year period. So I just wanna, you can still subdivide it, you just gotta go through the town to do it,
So
Okay, thank you, Drew. Appreciate that.
you've been very helpful there.
Tell my wife that.
All right, I think.
Yeah, I think we should probably,
Move on.
just a suggestion, move
Yes.
on, because half the
Yes.
folks left thinking that we were done with the discussion. so-
Right, definitely.
No offense, but.
I would suggest we send a copy of the minutes to everyone,
Yes.
so everyone gets the same story. And maybe highlight this after discussion that wasn't expected when I left the room.
So, I think. Are we gonna put this back to a vote, or?
We're
to-
gonna put it on the
Agenda,
agenda for
that's
next
what-
month.
yes.
So in essence, somebody needs to table this And give me,
I don't think this is old business, so I guess we can do a motion to table it. I'll entertain that motion. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Mike. Seconds, table. All right.
and I will,
We can't talk about it anymore. Oh, wait a minute. All in favor? None opposed, so now we can't talk about it anymore. You're more than welcome to stay for Drew's presentation of the development. You're more than welcome to do that.
are you glad you stayed?
Yes,
Thank you very much. Have a good night,
I read
folks.
the way you thought you
What's
said
that?
it. I read the letter the way you thought you said it.
And thank you, I appreciate
Thank you
that.
for saying that, because I'm sitting here rereading it, and I'm still reading it the way I meant it. So,
Thank you. Okay. New business. Trestle Way subdivision.
Seriously? What do you want, Drew?
let me speak. Where am I here? On behalf of Risbera Brothers Construction, Laurel Palmer requested the Scarborough Sanitary District Board of Trustees approval of the proposed 10-lot subdivision Trestle Way as presented in this middle documents. The proposed project is for a 10-lot subdivision, which would utilize low-pressure sewer system. The system will take ownership of all, the district will take ownership of all infrastructure within the public right-of-way, so that, as proposed, the sewer is going through the green space as we talked about. The proposed infrastructure is 525 feet of 2-inch diameter force main. That includes easement. 285 feet of 2-inch force main in the right-of-way. 200 feet of 1.25-inch sewer services. 1 5-foot diameter combination manhole, 2 4-foot diameter terminus / cleanout manholes, and 4 tracer wire locating stations. I recommend approval with the following additions. The first one being the force main route, lots 9 and 10 will be sewered via, and I'm asking, the cross-country sewer easement as originally proposed, which I think is what Drew has requested that the board approved, or the Highland Ave sewer plan as direct, and the trustees need to direct this. Wastewater flow allocation for the 10 homes, based on the standard of 200 gallons per day per single-family home, is 2,000 gallons per day. The capacity reserve fee for this project at $19.96 per gallon per day, based on the January ENR number. Comes to $39,920. Any additional flow or homes are subject to additional capacity reserve fees. Sewer extension permit applications shall be provided to the district prior to the extension permit being executed, and no site sewer work will be completed. And then a completed sewer connection permit application for each lot and associated fee shall be submitted to the district prior to the sewer connection permit being executed. No site sewer work shall be done. So, that's all I have.
I entertain the motion with the conditions stipulated by the superintendent.
With clarification on route on the force main, please.
And this is for the proposal as presented in Drew's plan, going through Trestle Way and connecting those 2 lots on Highland Ave through the green space.
Okay.
As presented. With the proviso that we can negotiate a new route if and when this body decides to do so based on neighbors' input.
By
The end of April.
our April meeting.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Jason. Thank you, Tony.
I do have a question. So do all the homeowners here have E1 into this force main?
They will.
Okay.
And I would add that, to that condition, I know you voted, but that in agreement with the applicant as well. Obviously, their portion of this, we don't want to put more burden on them for it.
Right.
Which I think is understood. I just wanted to clarify that, so. This is a 10-lot subdivision. I'll be real quick here. It's conservation subdivision, which is why there's a big open space area. It's required through the town to have basically half the area conserved, and the rest, it allows lot reductions, lot size reductions. The 4 Highland project, which was a 6-unit townhome development with the existing single-family house, is bringing the sewer up just past their driveway. It's actually a low-pressure system, so we're continuing that up here. I will mention that regardless of any sewer routing, this force main is 3 inches, and it can take up to, theoretically, up to 38 homes on it beyond Trestle Way. So I know the route was stopping up here. There's potential for more connections in the future if ever it's not intentionally being downsized. It's sized for as much as a 3-inch line can handle, which is pretty typical for a low-pressure system. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
So the district owns to that end of road force main, right?
We would own what's in the public right of way.
Right, okay.
And then the
The green space
green
line.
space would be owned by the homeowners association.
I can't really see it on the plan, but is there a delineation between what the district would end up owning and what would be private? Is there a clean out of some sort at that division point?
Here is a cleanout at the end of Trestle Way.
Yeah, there's probably about 15 feet in the right of way, but the grade drops off there, so I'd recommend the clean out manhole be where it is, and that can be the delineation point, I think would be reasonable.
I would just use the public right of way as we have typically, even though the clean out manhole is going to be along a few more feet beyond that, and just leave it clean like that.
That's fine.
Use the public right of way.
Thank you. And I thought there was a manhole in Highland Avenue. Is that just another, is that
For future expansion.
So it's actually, I mean, a couple ways to connect. You could do it T. It was actually a request of the district to do an intersection manhole, which is in their standards. It's just a little cleaner. It's got to have the valves and the cleanouts in the manhole, so you don't have to dig down to get to them. So it's a good suggestion by Dave. So there is one right at the end there, which is typical for low pressure connections.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? Go ahead, Mike.
So, being a public right of way, so this is obviously a town accepted road?
It will be,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Quite a few, I was just looking at low pressure, there's a lot of low pressure sewers in this interface, the force main. Could there have been another way of collecting it to a central pump station?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Tony. What was that?
I was just thinking, they have these individual home low pressure sewer pumping into the force main. Was there any other way of doing it, where we had collection to a central pump station and pump it back with the pump station? Just seems like
You could do that, but the problem with that, the district would not own a pump station that only serves 10 homes.
Oh.
And at that point, there is a number out there, and it always escapes me that the district has a standard number before it would consider taking ownership of a pump station. And I want
So
to
it's
say
the number of homes.
Yeah, I want to say that number is upwards of 100.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually it's not economically beneficial for the applicant to even like around the 50, 60, 70 unit range is when we start looking at, okay, maybe off low pressure to a centralized pump station, regardless of a public or private system. It's typically more economical on a smaller to do low pressure.
And there are complicating factors as well, because where would you put it? Not every single one of those lots would make it by gravity to a central pump station, depending upon where it goes. And third, we don't have a public sewer system nearby that we can dump into, except for Black Point Road.
That's why, gotcha.
And after that, other division goes in with its private force, or the common force main, putting another larger force main, we don't want to make spaghetti in the road.
Gotcha. Okay. Good question.
There is gravity. The sewer comes under the railroad tracks and comes out at the old Grange Hall, the daycare. And then there's a little gravity that extends down Highland Ave and serves the house that's next to the Grange Hall. It's being converted to a duplex right now.
Yeah, I remember
So that's
that
where
house.
the gravity ends.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And it's shallow at that point, and you can't, you'd be jumping out of the ground. So
Gotcha.
if you left that, I think we're right at 5 feet of cover at that point.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So I stood corrected, I thought it was on Black Point Road.
It comes across and then shoots up. Well, that's where Black Point Road used to be.
Good to know.
Yes.
Good
Yes,
to
you're
know.
right.
Yes,
You're
that's
right.
true.
Where Public Works was.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Public Works to the other side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, are we gonna approve this?
Well, I'm gonna call for a vote unless someone else has some questions. Any more questions for Drew?
Just to summarize, as it's on the table is the conditions that I outlined here, with the caveat, it's being approved for going through the green space with the proviso that the district has until its April meeting to advise them that they have to go
A different
up
route.
Highland Ave.
Yes.
Motion.
Barring, along with the agreement of the developer and support of the neighbors.
Yeah, just in agreement with what the applicant has offered to date. I don't want
Yes.
to add more
Yeah.
to an applicant for that, so.
You get all that, Serena? All right,
Great answer.
barring no other questions, all in favor? None opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. You've been invaluable.
Town Center subdivision, the Downs.
Oh, Drew's up again.
Yeah. Phase 12. On behalf of Crossroads Holding LLC, Goral Palmer requested the Scarborough Sanitary District Board of Trustees approval of the proposed Phase 12 gravity sewer, which will service the Town Center subdivision area in the Downs. The Downs Phase 3. The phasing numbers of the Downs is driving me crazy. As outlined within this submittal documents, the proposed development of the bypass road is an expansion of the recently planned and constructed site development of the Downs. Lots which will be designed and permitted separately from this application include grocery, retail, mixed use, and residential use. The road is proposed to provide access and utilities around the site with an 8-inch sanitary sewer proposed within the right-of-way to service the adjacent lots. The proposed sewer will connect with the approved, it's not yet constructed, sanitary sewer in the north portion of the Scarborough Downs Road across from the construction of Pump Station 28. Project approval is requested for the proposed sanitary sewer within the bypass road, public right-of-way, and the sewer easement. The proposed sewer infrastructure consists of 26 feet of 6-inch gravity sewer service, 111 feet of 8-inch gravity sewer service, 2,011 feet of 8-inch gravity sewer, and 15 manholes. I recommend approval with the following conditions. The wastewater allocation for lots 10 and 13 is 160 gallons per day, each for a total flow allocation of 64 gallons per day of typical sanitary waste. The current capacity reserve fee is $19.96 based on the January ENR. It is for a total capacity reserve fee of $12,774.40. Any flows above this approval are subject to additional approvals and capacity reserve fees. Provide a sewer easement to the satisfaction of the superintendent. Final plans shall be submitted to the superintendent for approval prior to construction, and a sewer extension permit is required.
I'll entertain a motion with the stipulations, conditions the superintendent outlined.
So moved.
Thank you, Jason.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Drew?
I have, it's either for Drew or Dave. This one might be for Dave. Meant to ask you this before. When you use the engineering news record construction cost index, do you use the 20 city average or do you use the Boston?
I use the 20 city average.
Okay. Okay. I was going through.
That would not be for Drew.
You're right. Good thing I looked at you. In the details, and I meant to look to see what our standard is, and I would assume that this is our standard for the air release vacuum release manhole. I noticed that there is no pipe support underneath that air release valve, but yet in the inline clean out manholes, there are pipe supports. Would that be an HDPE? Unless pipe supports eventually go in.
The pipe supports eventually go in.
Yeah, okay.
It's just incorporated into the construction.
Okay.
That detail actually is not applicable to this project, this phase, because we do not have air release. This is all gravity in this case. But the detail sheets are applicable to the entire, help me out here, but
Yeah,
the entire project.
So,
right, yeah.
So it's a detail that's applicable to another phase.
Right.
If that makes sense.
that's the best way to put it. So it's actually a town request to combine all the town center plans into one plan set, and rather than having multiple detail sheets, we've basically taken the standard and put it on there. So that's why there's more details than needed. I would just like to add, and there's an overall plan in your plan set, but Payne Road's off the sheet up here, Higas Parkway's down there, and Route 1's this way. This is Market Street, and this is Downs Road. This is the paved section out there right now. This is currently the sewer infrastructure's in. This is an unnamed road, which will be named soon, and this is Downs Road. This is what Dave was mentioning that is gonna be under construction here in the next few weeks. Pump Station 28 is right here in the top right corner. That's also under construction right now. And the bypass road, which again, will have a different name in the bold, is what we're requesting, as well as this sewer run along a 30-foot easement that cuts across lot 2. This does follow directly a drive aisle. That's basically gonna be a private road. So we're following that center line essentially with that, and that cuts over to the other public way, so the continuation of the public way on the bypass road to serve this lot. So what we're doing is just setting it up so that all the lots in here are on gravity sewer. This lot is a planned market basket, and this is a large retail and mixed-use development on this side, and then future out parcels be coming forward. Those projects will be coming forward in front of you, probably at, guessing the April meeting, sometime around there, so.
I have a question. Did anyone review these plans on behalf of the district?
I just did.
Okay.
They're very,
Fine, thanks. Thank you.
that's a Stephen. I reviewed it. It's a fairly simple, I didn't, on a more complex project, I would have forwarded it on Underwood, but I had time and it wasn't that complex. I didn't see the whole process that needed.
Any other questions for Drew or the superintendent? Barring none, all in favor? None opposed? Thank you, Drew.
Thank you. Promise I'll leave.
You brought your own easel?
You did. What's that?
You brought your own easel?
I did.
Moving on. Budget summary, the 1-month budget summary is included in your packet. I recommend approval. We're still under budget.
Motion to approve. Thank you, Jason.
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions for the superintendent? All right, none, all in favor? Not opposed. Oh, public comments. Any public comments? All right. Trustee comments. I think I'll start with Tony.
It was a quite interesting meeting tonight. I thought it was good that you reached out to these people, and you know, in all fairness, I mean, if I were a homeowner, I'd want to get an understanding of what it would, that gentleman there, what it would cost me to tie into that sewer. And it's hard sometimes because you can't give them finite numbers. So I thought it was a great meeting. Hopefully we can try to do what we can to help them a little bit. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a good meeting. I was actually surprised that the number of homeowners who actually could attend tonight. It was good just to understand what their thoughts are, and I can appreciate the fact that it always comes down to a cost. Other than that, Riley, looks like you're the last man standing there.
Cool. Jason.
Well, I already thanked them, but thanks again publicly for the folks that came out tonight. It was a great discussion and much appreciated the attendance that we had. Thanks to Drew, who just left. He was a great resource tonight and very helpful, so thanks, Drew. Also, thanks always to the staff, but especially Serena and Wendy, the latest audit and all the work that they put into that. Thank you very much for all you do.
All right, I will echo my fellow trustee comments. Thank the residents that showed up. I also commend Wendy and Serena on the stellar audit results. Taking just one day on site, that's impressive. I also want to wish congratulations to Brigida for her award she won tonight. And with that, I'll entertain the final motion. Motion to adjourn. Thank you, Jason.
Second.
Thank you, Tony. All in favor? Unopposed.